First off, one of the biggest mistakes that I made was I would break the bank going shopping for gift givings.
Every year?
Every year I was just spending erroneous amounts of money for gifts.
Lots of people are doing this.
Absolutely. But I wasn't really budgeting how I was going to get those gifts. It was just literally the money came and the money went. Can you relate to that?
Check to check. A lot of people can relate to that. Now, I will admit, I haven't done that type of strategy in a very, very long time because I hate to come out of the holidays extremely broke. I hate that waiting on the next check if you're a W-2 earner and saying, oh my gosh, I've got to re-up, I'm a little behind. I think that's kind of ridiculous. So I think planning ahead is definitely the key. And one of the strategies that I've used, and you've probably witnessed this throughout the year, is I buy gifts throughout the year. If I see something on clearance, clearance is it. That's the one, that's the rack for me. If I see something on clearance or at least on sale, 30% or even more, I'm buying it. And a lot of times it may not be for me. It may be for the children. It may be for you. It may be for other friends and family. But as long as it's on sale throughout the year, I can strategize to plan to use that for a great gift strategy.
So tell me one thing that you do. What is one of your strategies when you're planning for a big purchase?
I actually create a new account. So let's just say I want a new car, right? Or a new house or a new watch. I will go in and literally it's my project. So I call it, say, Project Rolex, for instance, and I start saving accordingly. So I put it into a brokerage account and I am extremely safe about it. So I'm not going to go in there and start placing trades on, say, Tesla or any biomedical firm. I'm going to be very, very conservative and get like a little S&P fund so that by the time I'm actually ready to purchase this fairly large purchase, I've actually probably made some money along the way.
Sure. Okay. I mean, that sounds really good. For me, planning for big purchases has never been my forte. Mm-hmm. I do. One thing that I will say is that I do look for sale items, especially if it's going to be a big purchase, right? If it's a TV, even cars, right? Even cars, I look for that. We haven't really bought a car in a long time.
A year?
It's still a long time for us.
It's been a year?
I mean, considering we're buying cars almost every year.
Yeah.
So it feels like a long time, but I digress. Looking at those big purchases, I really have not developed a budget for it. I do have an overall budget where I look at like my fixed expenses, expenses that are going to fluctuate, right? I do
Talk
have
about
that.
some of those fixed expenses.
I mean,
what would be a great example of some of those fixed expenses for you?
A fixed expense for me would be mortgage, my car. Mm-hmm. Those are expenses that don't change throughout the month, right? They're the same price every month. But some of those fluctuating expenses could be credit card. It could be, maybe I spent $100 one month and $200 the next month.
Food. Right, going to the mall.
But my challenge is that I don't budget for celebrations like birthdays, celebrations, what have you. I don't budget for those things. And that's where I think things can get a little tricky.
Mm-hmm. Have you realized that, and you've heard this in the news, that credit card debt is at $1 trillion.
I believe it.
And I knew that it would compound. It's going to actually get worse because student loan debt is here now, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody's responsible for paying student loan debt. And something's got to give.
Sure.
Somebody's not going to get paid, whether it's the federal government with student loan debt or it's going to be your credit card. And the national debt is just going higher and higher. And I fear for a lot of people that's going to fall into this trap.
So what's the fix to that? Is there a fix? Is there a fix to this national debt as a consumer?
Take your credit cards and student loan debt. We'll probably talk about student loan debt in another video, but for now, let's just stick to credit cards because that's probably what's most relevant during these times. Literally, you have to take your credit card debt so serious. You have to understand exactly how much you're spending. So what I would do, let's just say I spent $100 in credit card debt, right? I'm going to divide that $100 into 3 weeks. I'm going to give myself a little breather and I'm going to pay $33.33 every single week. So I'm not going to let it stretch out for the full 4 weeks just in case something were to happen and I get hit with interest. I'm going to divide it by 3 and I'm going to pay that expense within 3 weeks. And if I tell you, that's half of the battle. If people literally just looked at their credit card debt a little bit more closer to understand, what is it that I need to pay? First, what is it that I need? Do I really, really need it? If so, if I think I need it, let me sleep on it for a couple of days. And in a couple of days, if I still need it, now go purchase that product, right? And then after you purchase it, literally put it as a reminder on your phone or on your computer to pay that debt every single week for the next 3 weeks.
We talked about that in a previous video, right? We talked about it with our credit card, the Saver credit card, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
Paying that off before the 20 days is up. Making sure that you reduce the interest or any late fees that you may incur by not paying your total credit card debt off. Now, I will admit, I can become an emotional spender, right? I can get in the holiday or the celebration spirit.
So like you feel good about spending?
I like gift giving. I liked giving gifts, but I also have to consider, and that's been in the making. I also have to consider what I'm giving. So versus going out and spending a lot of money for gifts, I actually have really taken into making gifts, right? Things like making a basket with items that may not necessarily be super expensive, like that purse or those shoes, and making it something that's from the heart. So that's just the emotional side of finances, I think, for lack of a better word. But one of the things that I definitely feel like is a lesson learned is that breaking up those payments is really, it's not as daunting and as hard as it seems, right? It's a matter of putting a reminder in your phone and paying that $33.33 on a $100 expense, right? Tell me a little bit more about other things that we can save. What are some other things that we could do?
Before we even go down that path, here's what I want to tell people. If it's really stressing you out about, holiday season or birthdays or just events that you want to be involved with, but it's going to cost you money, do not think for 1 second that you actually have to spend money.
True.
Like, stop spending money. If your circle is close and understanding enough to understand that, hey, listen, I'm going to start saving. I've got some goals that I'm really trying to meet, and me actually spending additional money on certain things is just not within my goal. Absolutely. Now, it's not to say that you're broke. It's just you've got other priorities right now. And if your priority is to, say, buy a house in the next 6 months, another year, or purchase a new car because your car is just, it's raggedy, it's ready to go, it's on its last leg. Let people know that. Like, there's nothing wrong with being transparent. It is so sad to hear that people are afraid to express their actual needs, especially when it comes to finances, right? So here it is, you've got something to save for, but you don't want to let people know that you can't afford.
Yeah.
You just simply can't afford. That doesn't mean that you're broke. It just means that you can't afford to purchase all these additional things in fear that you're not going to meet your goals. So you've got to stick to the number one plan and meet your goals. Stop worrying about everybody else and focus on your financial journey, which at the end of the day is your financial goal.
That is really sound, solid advice. Definitely make sure that you are transparent, if you even need to say anything, about what your goal is. And also consider that when you're transparent about that, people may hold you more accountable to that goal.
I think it's okay to be transparent. And that's the mode that we make good money. And I do not mind telling anybody that I can't afford it right now. I've got other priorities right now. I can't take this trip right now. I can't continue to take trips back and forth to California because I want to go to Italy in 6 months. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I want to fly first class, so I can't afford to do these things right now. So again, be as transparent as you want, because this information that you're sharing could be education for someone else.
Sure. Yeah. That's great advice. Thank you for that. Let's talk about planning for your future. What are some things that you should take in consideration when planning for your future financially?
Yeah, that's a good one. Fill those IRAs up. If you're self-employed, get that Roth IRA. Put money in that Roth IRA, right? That money is taxed, right? So if you're filling up with $6,500, it's not going to provide you tax benefit, but the gains in that Roth IRA, right, for your retirement are going to grow tax free. So I'm a huge advocate for, getting a traditional IRA, getting a Roth IRA, getting matching funds for your 401k. I think that these things are super important for your financial future, so that when you are ready to retire, you are in control of your destiny because you were so diligent in putting money to the side for yourself. So again, if you can't afford the things that everybody's doing, all the fancy things, all the popular things, just know that your financial future is going to actually be pretty set.
Is there a number? Like I'm trying to imagine what's a good number to have in that Roth or traditional IRA every year?
Every year, max it out, $6,500. It may seem like a really tough task, but after a while it becomes a challenge. After a few years, you begin to challenge yourself in ensuring that you're going to put $6,500 in there. When I first started, it took me the entire year to fill it with $6,500. Now I'm actually pretty good. I actually fill the $6,500 IRA up within probably the first 2 or 3 months. Nice. of the brand new year. So I'm pretty much done. Now there is discipline that comes behind being finished early, because now you need to trade in that account. So now you need to be very, very cautious in the things that you want to trade within that year that's going to take up that $6,500.
Yeah, thank you. That is such great advice. Thank you so much for sharing. Any other nuggets that you want to?
Nope. I think that's very, very important to understand that you are securing your financial future.
Yes. Well, here, we challenge you to make sure that you open up a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, and start dumping your excess money, at least $6,500 into that Roth.
I've got one more challenge for folks. And when you are done with that $6,500, move on to your emergency fund. I say at least between $5,000 and $10,000. I like to hold $5,000 and $10,000 in just cash, just in case. And I know that it's not earning interest, but I'd like to just have some loose cash, at least $10,000, so that if anything were to come up, right?
Like an apocalypse. And we've had challenges in the past where we didn't have a lot of money, and you found out later, like, hold on, you were holding on to $10,000? Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but I didn't consider it a huge emergency until we actually really, really needed it. And luckily, we saved that money, and it helped out in the end.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it though.
Yep, nope, never does.
Yeah.
Never does.
All right, well, so what's your challenge then?
Challenge is to, again, fill up those Roths, save up $10,000, between $5,000 and $10,000, and just emergency access to cash.
But so let's be even realistic for some folks that 10,000 may not be a lofty goal. Then start with 100. Start with a 500. Start with 1,000. Make it a goal that is a stretch for you. It may not be 10,000, and it may not even be 1,000, but start somewhere, right? Get started somewhere.
And if it is a challenge to save up $1,000, $100, $1,000, and you're working, and let's just say you don't make that much, then give that challenge to your boss. Let your boss know that, hey, listen, I've got a pretty aggressive goal. I currently don't make much right now, but I would love to save a lofty $3,000 by the end of the year, starting next year. How can you help me with that, right? And that is going to involve getting a salary increase. But you have to ensure that you're actually worth that. Is the company going to invest in your financial future? That means you got to be the best.
And just really remember, financial stability is a journey. You really should plan wisely and learn from the mistakes of others in order to really make your own change. Trust us, it makes all the difference.